Hi, welcome back to day 2. And now we get to pick up the pace and do a little bit of more fun stuff. Today is on energy psychology. It's also what I call structure change or thought change, because there's many different types of changes that we can make. We can change at the structural level, which means you're changing the base program, or you change at the thought level, how you're thinking about it. And really, if you use the computer program analogy, right? If you rewrite the base program, of course, what happens when you click, everything changes. So we're working on not just thinking about the change, but beginning to rewrite the program so it becomes even more effective. Because change from the inside, it's a two-way change. Most people do the thought change. They think about the change, they they talk about it and do this. And then to really begin to do it, though, you have to be able to break it down into small steps. We call it chunking in the world I operate in, NLP and hypnosis. And then you need to practice each sequence of that thing. If you want to learn how, use a sports analogy, throw a football, you have to break it down. If you've never done it, somebody throw you a football, you're going to throw it all, right? They throw you the football and they show you, well, first, here's how you hold it. You place, how you place your hands on the laces, how you do this, how you do that. They break it down into small enough steps, and you hold it up here and how you do it. And again, use a sports analogy. We're always hearing about, these elite athletes that they go and they reprogram themselves on, like, how to throw a football, how to throw a baseball. And these are professionals, right? But they have to back up and break it down into small enough steps. You always see that when they talk about a person changing their delivery of a baseball or a football, right? They can do that. And that's what happens, let's say, when people go to a 12-step program. They break it down into the steps, into the sequence, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous. They have these certain steps. Now, what's interesting, you have to hope you get the correct information in the proper sequence. Again, to use the analogy of throwing a football, if they first show you how, to hold your elbow up and how to throw the football before they show you how to put the hands on the laces, it's still not going to work. You need the proper sequence and the proper steps. And it's one of the reasons it may have lost some of its effectiveness, right? The 12-step program, which I personally believe in, I love, I'm still active myself. But what happens, if you're really good at something and you get it so it's second nature to you, you probably can't tell somebody how they're doing it or how you do it. A good example would be, as I remember when I taught my daughter how to drive. And I've been driving, I had my daughter when I was my mid-20s, so of course I've been driving a long time by the time she gets to learn how to drive. And I had to back up because I'm like, turn the key and go, basically what I do, right? And I forget we were doing something, and something happened about changing lanes. And I don't know, she cut somebody off or something. And I went, whoa, what are you doing? She goes, what? I go, well, you didn't check the mirror. She goes, you didn't tell me to check the mirror. Of course, my first response was, well, everyone knows you should check the mirror. And she just looked at me, right? And I'm like, that's right, I didn't tell her all those little steps. I assume she would know. Why would you know if you don't know? If you don't know, you don't know. So if you're coming into a recovery program and you don't know any of how to stay clean and sober, and someone assumes you know this, this, and this, whether it's, how to avoid situations, how to practice what you're going to learn, halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired, whatever this, if they assume you know it, you may not ask, you're just going to think, well, there's a sequence missing, there's a step missing. So the whole program's not going to work. Again, to use a computer programming analogy, I'm not a programmer, my wife is a programmer, and she'll say, if you skip a step, I've seen her have to go back when she was writing programs, and she'll have to go through the whole program to find where the commands are, the comma, whatever it was. I'm not a programmer. But it's that sequence, it's that step. If it's left out, it's not going to work. And so many times what happens is, unless the person knows how to teach it to you in the proper way, you're not going to learn how to do it, right? And that could be one of the reasons we're having some difficulty with it, right? So, but we really want to focus on two things. A, the thought change, learning the sequence, doing this, but we also want to change from the inside out, right? Because structure change what I call is how the brain processes information. You know, do you make a picture? Do you make a sound? Do you make a feeling, right? What about your beliefs, your attitudes, and your values? That'll drive you toward a goal or away from pain. Well, the things, you know, those kind of things that we're talking about, these are so powerful, right? Because actions change when the structure behind it changes. Then it seems natural and reinforcing, right? And which is what we want. So it becomes much more natural, much more reinforcing, right? And it seems like magic, right? Because thought changes, thinking about it takes a lot more time. And you have to consciously reinforce it, which can work okay, but then the first time you're really tired or your brain's not there, like we talked about in day one, well, the willpower's gone, there's no follow-up. And then you get conscious interference and you'll go back to the old behavior because it makes sense, right? So what we want to do is a little bit of both. We want to do structure change. You're already doing the thought change. You're thinking about it. And hopefully we're doing this in a sequential way that your brain will understand so you can make it natural. So, you know, your next delivery, if you're a baseball player, is going to be the new way, not the old way. Because every once in a while, to use a sports analogy again, you'll see an athlete, they change their delivery or their swing, and they'll do well, but then as the game goes on, if they get tired, you'll see them go backwards, right? So what we want to do is double down. We want to double down by changing the structure and the thought. And when you come together, it's the key to long-lasting change. It's what really works. And again, on day one, and we're reinforcing it today, and we'll reinforce it almost through the whole program, which is you got to keep asking yourself the right questions because it's going to keep your focus. You know, how can I enjoy learning this information even more today? How can I find ways to use this not just in my addiction recovery, but in every aspect of my life, right? So you can really begin to have some fun with this, right? Now, let me show you an example. It has to do with, let's use food you like, food you dislike. This is the process that got me hooked into what we're doing. You know, I'd been in recovery a while. I was starting to be an alcohol and drug counselor. I was learning psychology. And, you know, it didn't seem as effective as it could be. And then I went to a seminar, and they did a couple of techniques in neurolinguistics. And that's when my life started to change, when the neurolinguistics and the hypnosis was added to my life, right? I remember, and it brought me back the very first time I'd been exposed to hypnosis, I was in high school, right? I saw a demonstration, I loved it, and then I got a book, because the person that did the demo said, get this book. I went and found this book, and it was Hypnosis for Change. I read the script to somebody, they were hypnotized, I was hooked. I didn't follow it up, unfortunately, because life gets in the way, but I still remember how powerful it was, and I started practicing self-hypnosis at that time. But I was at this seminar, and the guy giving the seminar said, does anyone here have a food that they would like to either quit eating, because it's no good for you, or maybe they have a food that they don't eat, they would like to eat? Great. So I raised my hand and said, you know, I don't eat enough fruits or vegetables. Or fruits, it was fruits. And I remember I said that because I just made the comment. I remember somebody in the room went, well, that's stupid, fruit's good for you. Well, you know, at that point, you know, I was an athlete, a martial artist, I practiced powerlifting. I knew it was good for me, I just didn't want to eat it. Again, that's the difference between the thought and the structure, right? And what you're going to learn tomorrow with conscious, subconscious conflict. So anyway, I'm like, and so he goes, well, what's a food you really like? He goes, first of all, describe, let's use an apple. He goes, close your eyes and think about an apple. And I remember I closed my eyes, and he goes, where's the apple at when you think about it? I go, it's down to it was left, down to left, right? And it was mushy and gray and soggy, kind of like half rotted, like the bottom of the barrel. Blah. Of course I'm not gonna eat it. If that's my subconscious process of when you offer me an apple, my brain goes to, I don't care if it's red and shiny you're showing me, I think of a mushy, gray apple. I'm not gonna eat it. Okay. And he goes, what's a food you really like? And I said, Cinnabons, right? The kind you get in the mall or the airports. And he goes, describe one of those. I go, it's right here. It's big, it's colorful, it's bright. You know, I could see the cream cheese frosting and all this stuff. I don't care if it's good for me or not, it's delicious, right? And I didn't eat them that often. So then what we did, we're gonna do this process in a moment, he had me move the apple so it was in the same spot, and he changed a few other things, which we're going to do, up into the place of the where the Cinnabon was. Okay, fine. And then afterwards, he went, okay, what happens now when you think about like apples or fruit? And I went, well, yeah, I could eat it. Okay, it was whatever. I didn't know if it's going to work or not. About 2 days later, I'm at home. And I'm standing there in the kitchen with Christina, my wife now. She was my girlfriend at the time. And we were in her house, and she always had fruits in her house. She always ate healthy. But we're standing there talking, and I remember I opened the refrigerator, and I reached in and I got an apple, and I'm talking to her. I took the peel off, I wiped it off, and I started eating it. And as we're carrying on a conversation, I remember she looked at me like this. And I go, what? I thought maybe I did something wrong, is it, you know? And she goes, you're eating an apple. And I went, yeah, I love apple. Then it dawned on me, right? We'd been together 2 years at that point. She goes, I'd never seen you eat an apple before. And I'm standing there eating the apple. Then I realized I'd ate 2 or 3 apples, a couple of pears and things over the last couple of days. And, you know, if you could be here at Live Free, everybody here would tell you that they're constantly seeing me walk around eating an apple, a pear, a fruit, right? Something changed. And it was at that moment that I went and decided I was going to study this because it overrode my conscious mind, right? So this is the power of what we're beginning to learn here. Another example would be this. This one would be easy for us to do. If you would just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and only do this, of course, if if you can give your attention. Now close your eyes. Now think about a person you really like, a buddy, a pal, a friend. You know, somebody you like being around, not a lover or a spouse, just somebody you like. Now let them pop into your mind, and they'll be like right in front of you, maybe to the left, wherever they are, they are. And think about how they make you feel, you know, what sounds you hear, all of this wonderful stuff. Great. Now open your eyes, close your eyes. Now think about somebody you don't like, maybe a coworker, come on, be honest, maybe a family member, they're a whiner, you just don't like them. Let them pop into your mind. They're going to be somewhere else. Now what I want you to do, tell your brain it's okay, we're going to have a little bit of fun, all right? What I want you to do is take that person you don't like in your mind's eye and move them over to the spot of the person you like. And see what your brain says. Okay? Good. Tell your brain it can go back. Open your eyes, it can go back now. Now, how many of you, your brain said no? A lot of your brain said no, or it just didn't feel right, like, ugh, right? They don't deserve to be there, or something like that, right? That's a process change. Now, or structure change. If you kept them there, you would start liking that person, right? It kind of goes back to, remember when you were growing up and your parents and people would tell you, watch out who you hang out with because that's going to, you know, influence how people think about you, right? Because it's true. If I don't like somebody and you show up with them, chances are I'm not going to like you off the bat. Why? Because you're hanging out with somebody I don't like. You're going to go to that part of my brain, right? So what's interesting, it gives us the power to begin to make these changes. You do this naturally with like food you dislike, right? Have you ever, somebody offered you some food you've never tasted, and even because it looks like something you don't like, you won't even try it, right? These are the kind of things that we're going to change. Now, how is this applicable for our addiction? Well, you know, this kind of happens. Where is your drug of choice, your alcohol drug of choice? Is it in an area you like or dislike, right? We're going to begin to change these things at the process level, right? And the structure level. And then, boom, it begins to change from the inside out, right? So the thing we're going to talk about with this is energy psychology, right? The next thing, and today's all about energy psychology. And it's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. I learned it as thought field therapy back in the early 1990s, late 1980s. And it has to do with the way the energy flows through your body. It's based on acupressure and acupuncture points. And when people first are exposed to it, some they go, oh, that's that new age. No, it's like 10,000 years old, 5,000. It way predates modern medicine. It's how the energy flows through your body. I was actually first exposed to it in the martial arts where they use, you know, certain things, certain points to cause a certain reaction in someone's physical body. So the information's there. We've kind of known it anecdotally, but now we have the physical, the way they map things in your body. It's very true. And in fact, I do know, like acupuncture is used in like all of the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins, the Cleveland Clinic. And in fact, one of them, if you show up with tennis elbow or golf elbow, I forget which is which, their first treatment of choice is acupuncture to see if that'll get the energy flowing. It's all about energy flowing in your body, right? Now, when we do this, the first aspect of it is we have to affirm that you accept yourself. So we're going to watch a video, if you haven't already, and it talks about, you say to yourself as you tap right here, this is a pressure point, like a karate chop point, right? You tap right there and you say, I totally and completely accept myself, even though, and then you list what the problem is. Like, I totally and completely accept myself, even though I have this addiction. I totally and completely accept myself, even though I have this addiction. One of the reasons this is so powerful, and cognitive psychology will back up part of it. First of all, you're affirming and accepting that you have this problem. One of the major problems many of us have, especially with addictions or changes, is we don't even admit we have the problem. Well, you can't change something until you accept that you have the problem, right? I think it was General Eisenhower said, you can't, when he went into a new command, you can't change something unless people know there's a problem. If they think it's okay, you're never going to change it. And so you're accepting it, and you're not condemning it. It's just a neutral statement. I totally and completely accept myself, even though I have this addiction. And you can list your specific addiction, and it makes it even more powerful because rarely do we do this. And usually this begins to set the change in your mind. Now, I was using this technique a lot, right? Because it changes your energy. And when your where your energy changes, your attention changes. Attention change equals energy. Energy equals action. Action equals emotion, and motion and results. So we want to change this. When I was first exposed to this, I didn't know how much I believed in it, to be honest with you. Even though I've been practicing pressure point karate and I knew this, but this seemed pretty wild to me, the stuff that we'll be doing today. And I'm like, okay. But I was doing a lot of theater at the time. I still do theater. And I remember one day I'm in a show, and a lot of people there didn't know what I did for a living, with the hypnosis and the NLP. But a few people in this show did. And we're just getting ready to open the show, and it was a big musical. And one of the girls had a big solo number, right? And she was deathly sick. She always got a little bit stage fright. A little bit's okay. But she was like deathly sick, throwing up. We had to have garbage cans on the side of the stage, right? And she's like, ah. And then finally, because they knew what I did, they go, hey, Will, can you do something? I'm like, well, do you want any help? I always ask, do you want help? She goes, yeah. But I mean, we're literally like a few minutes away from opening, the show starting. I didn't have time to do a hypnosis technique or a big NLP technique. So I said, let me show you this thing I learned. It's energy psychology. They knew I was a martial artist. I go, it's based in karate. All the karate masters do this before a tournament. And then I walked her through it, right? And it worked so well that that all the other people wanted to learn it, because then she walked on stage, she was calm, she did her number, right? She did her next number, and she had a little glitch in the number, she didn't hit a note, but rather than come off stage like she would usually do and want to beat herself up and throw up in the garbage can because she didn't hit the proper note, she came off stage, she was calm, she goes, yeah, I didn't hit that note, but I'll get it next time, right? Which was a much healthier attitude to be in, right? So at that moment, even though I'd been doing it a while, it really hooked me into it, right? It really hooked me into it. And again, it's these pressure points, right? That we're going to watch the video in a moment, if you haven't already. And again, the first step is you always totally and completely accept myself, even though I have this addiction, stress, anxiety, and then a whole bunch of people came to me to learn this for test anxiety. I totally and completely accept myself, even though I freeze when I take a test. Because have you ever done that where you walk in to take a test and you can't remember any of the answers, and then you walk out afterwards, and 20 minutes after you've messed up the test, all the answers come back to you? And it has to do with the stress reaction. When the stress goes up, your neurochemicals change. You shut down the higher cortex of your mind. You can't remember the information. And then once you calm down and your brain chemicals change, all the answers come back. And what this does is it kind of resets the energy flow in your body, which helps you do it. Now, if you've been following along and you're starting to ask yourself better questions, like we started yesterday, and you keep asking yourself better questions, all of these changes become even more powerful, right? So as you watch the video and you ask yourself better questions, like how can I use this? This is one of the things I stress to everyone in our program. You should memorize, the steps of this little thing. Take you a minute, right? And if this can become part of your neurology where you can do this wherever you need it, the next time you're in a stressful situation, whatever it happens to be, let's say you have to go somewhere where people will be using, drinking, smoking a joint, but you got to be there. Well, if you went through this, it can lower your stress level, so you're much more likely to succeed when you do when you have to go into that situation because you've changed your energy. So now we're going to watch the video of Christina walking us through how to do EFT. Hi, this is Dr. Will Horton of the Live Free Online Addiction Recovery Program. And today we're going to go over the emotional freedom technique based on thought field therapy, also known as energy psychology, because you can change your thinking by changing your energy. Now you have to remember that this is based on acupuncture and the energy flow in the meridians. Now acupuncture has been around for thousands and thousands of years, far longer than Western medicine. In fact, today it's used in places like the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, and Johns Hopkins. So the top flight medical places use this kind of technology, and so should you. So in a moment we're going to go over the protocol and how to use it. But first, remember that once you change the energy flow in your body, you can feel better. So let's start with this. I'd like you to think on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being low and 10 being high. How do you feel right now about your addiction recovery? Now kind of notice that. Now here's what I'd like you to do. Now first, you have to be open to change. And in emotional energy psychology, it's called energy reversal. The key is to accept yourself even with this issue, whether it's an addiction or pain or tension or nervousness. It can be used for many things. In fact, as we get ready to start, after I learned this, I ended up using a lot in the theater where people would have stage fright right before they went on. It seemed like, especially in a musical, and they had a big musical number or big dance number. And I didn't have time to do a big hypnotic technique, but I would show them the protocol I'm about to show you, and it would drop their tensionness and nervousness down to nothing. So what I'd like you to do is, first of all, on the side of your hand, we call it the karate chop point. If you're making a karate chop, it's where it is. And the key is to accept yourself even with this challenge. And so we'll be working on addiction, but you can use this for a physical pain, for stress, for anxiety, for depression, whatever it happens to be. But we'll be using the example about an addiction. So you're going to tap on the side of your hand and you're going to repeat 3 times. I totally and completely accept myself even though I have this addiction. I totally and completely accept myself even though I have this addiction. I totally and completely accept myself even though I have this addiction. Again, you repeat this 3 to 5 times as you're tapping. And of course, tap hard enough to feel, but don't try to hurt yourself with it. Now we'll do the protocol, and we say the opposite of whatever the problem is. And again, since we're working on addiction, when you say the protocol, it'll be like, I'm happy and free in recovery, or I enjoy my recovery. I'm sober and clean, whatever works for you. But I stress that you say happy with this. Or if you're working on anxiety or depression, I feel calm and focused, something like that. And so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to tap on the inside of the eyebrows. And again, you're going to tap 10 to 15 times saying that positive statement. So again, we'll be using the protocol of an addiction recovery. And I'm going to do it in a very basic one. Tap with me on the inside of the eyebrow. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And you'll repeat the saying about 3 times as you tap 10 to 15 times. Then you're going to tap on the outside of the eyes, where people naturally rub when they have a headache. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Then you're going to tap underneath the eyes. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And then in that little part right underneath your nose, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Then under your chin, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. In the collarbone spot, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And now, on the hand spot that you can see right there between the ring and the little finger, about a 1/2 inch back. And as you're tapping here and making the saying, kind of roll your eyes around, make figure eights, just bounce your eyes around. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, see how you feel. Now if you go back to your statement about addiction, it'll probably have moved. If you had anxiety or stress, it would drop greatly. And I'd like you to use this whenever you need or want it. Whenever you're facing a challenge or a negative feeling, you can do this to help clear out the energy. And then you'll also have all of the audio programs and all of the other things that you're learning in the Live Free online addiction recovery program. Good. Hope you enjoyed that. Now, what I would suggest that you watch that video, which is also in your portal that you can watch over and over again till you make it second nature. And if you have kids, if you have people around you, this is a wonderful thing to begin to teach people all the way around. And again, if you start asking yourself better questions, like how can I add this to my routine? How can I use this in other aspects of my life? You know, if you have parts of your job you're nervous over. I remember I was teaching this in one of our other classes, and then the person said they started using this because they were a salesperson, and when they had to go in for a big sales pitch, you know, for a big presentation to a company, excuse me, they would do this right before, right? They would just excuse themselves, go to the bathroom, walk themselves through it, and it calmed them down. And as I said, I use this a lot with theater people, teaching them this little technique, trust you, have some fun with it, and then, you know, and then it becomes a little ritual that you can do, all right? So now we're gonna practice our relaxation. Good, so take a deep breath, and only do this when you can relax. Good.